This administration was very carefully selected and put into place. Trump would be the continuation of Obama, just like I had been saying, and Obama was a continuation of Boy George Bush. It's all about the Oded Yanon plan, the New World Order, and the destruction of the United States. Welcome, everybody. You're listening to Wardo-Rants, and my name is Eddie. Under attack. And I don't have to tell you guys this, but we are under attack in so many ways, but our God-given rights protected by the Constitution of the United States is heavily under attack, and some of the most important ones, which we'll be talking about in this video, are directly under attack, and they're actually being attacked by our sitting president, Donald Trump. But we'll start off with the First Amendment. The Constitution of the United States of America, 1789, Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of a religion, the prohibiting of free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or the press, or the right to the people to peacefully assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Well, the platforms that's set forth for us is supposed to be public domains. That would be YouTube and Facebook and outfits like that are continually banning, censoring, and or removing any content that has to do with the freedom of speech, particularly regarding the government itself or its actions. I've been speaking out about the government, the crimes that's being committed by the banking elite. And, well, I just lost a channel the other day, but I'm working my way around it the best I can. At any rate, so, you know, there's so many of us that have been having our content removed. Mine was 9 years worth of work that got removed Saturday. That was just yesterday.
You know that freedom of speech has some limitations. You aren't allowed to use force, threats, fraud, or defamation to get what you want. But sometimes an opinion that persuades one person will deeply offend another. Does that mean offensive speech is a form of harm that must be prohibited? Well, no, because if it were, the people who disagree with you the most would have the most control over what you're allowed to say. In other words, the people who are the most easily offended and the most vocal about it would have more freedom than everyone else. Prohibiting speech that others find offensive violates the rights of both those who want to speak and those who want to listen. And repeatedly violating these kinds of rights would set us on a course to an unfree world. That's why persuasive speech needs special First Amendment protection. A commitment to free speech inevitably means protecting the rights of people whose speech you find deeply offensive. But the way to respond to offensive speech isn't to use force, it's to counter with persuasive speech of your own.
Doesn't make sense that I have to wait till I'm 21 to get a handgun, but I can get this weapon at 18. I don't know. So I was just curious as to what you did in your bill.
Never mind the fact that at the age of 17, you can get a gun handed to you when you join the military to go fight for corporations, bankers, and the Jewish state of Israel.
You don't address it?
We didn't address it, Mr. President. But I think
You know why? Because you're afraid of the NRA, right? Chris, did you have something?
No. I think you underestimate the power of the gun lobby.
No, I'll tell you what. And they do have great power. I agree with that. They have great power over you people. They have less power over me. I don't need it. What do I need?
He gladly took their money while he was running for president, promising to be the biggest gun advocate.
I like taking the guns early, like in this crazy man's case that just took place in Florida. He had a lot of firearms. They saw everything. To go to court would have taken a long time. So you could do exactly what you're saying, but take the guns first, go through due process second.
So now we have Trump right on film, completely willing to violate the Second and the Fifth Amendment.
This was passed with overwhelming support by your United States Congress that has sold you out, and it was signed into law by President Trump. And all this happened with no media coverage and very little attention.
With Trump signing this into law, it actually sets precedent so that they could roll this out nationwide. People need to be paying attention to this crap. We're really fucked. We need to stand up and put a stop to this shit.
They have buried and hidden inside of this where it goes on to state that the powers given to this Washington Metro Rail Safety Commission basically violates the basic tenets of your U.S. Constitution. It says, in performing its duties, this commission, through its board and designated employees or agents, may enter upon any property that is adjacent or near their train lines. And this is included without any limitation. This is including property owned and occupied by the federal government, by residents, and they can do this for inspections, investigations, examinations, for testing. They can do all this, and such entry shall not be deemed a trespass.
Here's a photo of Chuck Schumer. Apparently it's okay for Jews to possess guns, just not Goyim cattle. Oh yes, the greatest gun grabbers in U.S. history are, and always have been, quite Jewish. Gun control in the United States is as Jewish as our liberal and self-destructive immigration policies.
1968. The Gun Control Act of 1968 comes from Representative Emanuel Seller's House Bill H.R. 17735. It expands legislation already attempted by the non-Jewish Senator Thomas Dodd. America's biggest and most far-reaching gun law came from a Zionist.
1988. Senate Bill S-1523 is sponsored by Senator Howard Metzenbaum. It proposes legislation turning every violation of the Gun Control Act of 1968 into a RICO predicate offense, allowing a gun owner to be charged with federal racketeering offenses. 1988, Senator Metzenbaum co-sponsors a Bill S-2180 to ban or limit or restrict so-called plastic guns.
1990, Senator Herbert Kohl introduces Bill S-2070, the Gun-Free School Zone Act of 1990, which bans gun possession in a school zone. The law will later be struck down in court as unconstitutional. 1993, Senate Bill S-653 is sponsored by Senator Howard Metzenbaum. It bans specific automatic rifles, but also gives the Secretary of Treasury the power to add any semi-automatic firearm to the list at a later date. February 1994, the Brady Law, which requires waiting periods to buy handguns, becomes effective. Senator Metzenbaum wrote the Brady Bill. Metzenbaum sponsored the bill in the Senate. The sponsor of the bill in the House was Representative Charles Schumer. 1994, Senator Metzenbaum introduced S-1878, the Gun Violence Prevention Act of 1994, aka Brady II. Representative Schumer sponsored Brady II sister legislation H.R. 1321 in the House of Representatives.
September 1994. The Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994 goes into effect, including a provision that bans the manufacture and possession of semi-automatic rifles, described as assault weapons. Note that true assault weapons are fully automatic, not semi-automatic. That gun ban provision was authored in the Senate by Senator Dianne Feinstein and authored in the House by Congressman Schumer.
1995, Senators Cole, Specter, Feinstein, Lautenberg, and others introduced Gun-Free School Zones Act of 1995, an amended version of the 1990 school zone law which was struck down in court as being unconstitutional.
September 1996, the Lautenberg domestic confiscation provision becomes law. It is part of a larger omnibus appropriations bill. It was sponsored by Senator Frank Lautenberg. It bans people convicted of misdemeanor domestic violence from ever owning a gun. 1997, Senate Bill S-54, the Federal Gang Violence Act of 1997, proposes much harsher sentences for people violating minor gun laws, including mandatory prison sentences and forfeiture of property. It was introduced by Dianne Feinstein and Senator Hatch, among others. It returns the idea of turning every violation of the Gun Control Act of 1968 into a RICO predicate offense.
January 1999, Senator Barbara Boxer, aka Barbara Levy, introduces Bill S-193, the American Handgun Standards Act of 1999. January 1999, Senator Cole introduces Bill S-149, the Child Safety Lock Act of 1999. It would require a child safety lock in connection with transfer of a handgun. February 1999, Senator Frank Lautenberg introduces Bill S-407, the Stop Gun Trafficking Act of 1999. February 1999, Senator Lautenberg introduces S-443, the Gun Show Accountability Act of 1999.
March 1999, Senator Lautenberg introduces Bill S-560, the Gun Industry Accountability Act of 1999. March 1999, Senator Feinstein introduces Bill S-594, the Large Capacity Ammunition Magazine Import Ban Act of 1999. May 2000, Senate Bill S-2515, Firearm Licensing and Record of Sale Act of 2000 is submitted by Senators Feinstein, Senator Barbara Boxer, Senator Lautenberg, and Senator Schumer. It is a plan for a national firearms licensing system.
January 2001, Senate Bill S-25, Firearm Licensing and Record of Sale Act of 2001, is sponsored by Feinstein, Schumer, and Boxer. It is a nationwide gun registration plan. Apparently, there were two versions of that Firearm Licensing and Record of Sale Act bill.
May 2003, Senators Feinstein, Schumer, Boxer, and others introduced legislation that would reauthorize the 1994 federal assault weapons ban and close a loophole in the law that allows large capacity ammunition magazines to be imported into the U.S. The ban is scheduled to expire in September 2004.
October 2003, Senators Feinstein, Lautenberg, Levin, also Jewish, and Schumer co-sponsor Bill S-1774, designed to stop the sunset ending of Undetectable Firearms Act of 1988.
March 2005, Senator Lautenberg introduces Bill S-645, quote, to reinstate the Public Safety and Recreational Firearms Use Protection Act, unquote. In other words, to reinstate the 1994 assault rifle ban, also known as the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994, which expired in late 2004.
March 2005, Senator Feinstein introduces Bill S-620 to reinstate the Public Safety and Recreational Firearms Use Prevention Act. In other words, to reinstate the 1994 assault rifle ban, also known as the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994, which expires in late 2004.
Are you not at all concerned that by encouraging Israeli civilians to carry firearms, and I understand that there's conscription in Israel and they're better trained with firearms than just the average population in the average country, but are you not at all concerned that this could inflame tensions and make things even worse? And I cite for you an example of an Israeli stabbing another Israeli this week, thinking that Israeli was an Arab, not that would have excused it, and that's the kind of thing that might happen except with guns.
No, I'm not concerned. Look, I think that there's a mistake here. People are trying to project issues in the United States on Israel. Look, we have never, Jake, had a situation like you've had in these terrible incidents that you had in Sandy Hook or in Oregon just recently in Aurora. That, to my knowledge, has never happened in the history of the state of Israel. Not everyone in Israel can get a gun. You have to have a license. There are people who are trained, and we have a citizens' army. There are a lot of people carrying guns. You've been to Israel. You know, when you go on the streets, there are a lot of people carrying guns. What's unique about Israel is
they're often in uniform.
You don't have it. And I have to tell you, we have saved hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lives because we have that citizen army, because people are on reserves and people are armed. And so when a terrorist goes and he stabs one or two people, they don't get to kill a third and a fourth, because by that time there's somebody there who's able to take action and stop them.
All right, Ambassador Dermer, thanks so much for being here.
Israel is encouraging their citizens to be armed.
Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas accused Israel of declaring open season on Palestinians. Israeli officials fired back, saying Abbas has done absolutely nothing to quell the deadly violence and, in some cases, has incited it. Let's get right to CNN international correspondent Phil Black. He's live in Jerusalem. Phil, what's the mood on the ground there tonight?
Jake, on the streets, there is real fear. It is tense. And from the Israeli government today, great anger. The Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke really forcefully, first rejecting, hitting back at a statement from the US State Department spokesman suggesting that Israel may be using excessive force. That, Netanyahu says, is absurd and unfair. But he's really angry with the leader of the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, who has said that Israeli forces are executing children. And Israeli citizens themselves, those who legally own weapons, are being encouraged to carry them in the streets.
Let's remember that the United Nations is a Jewish-run outfit. Its predecessor was the League of Nations, which was a New World Order outfit. Remember, a disarmed people is a vulnerable people. Fight back. Wardo out.